So here is the finished organization of my palettes. It is what they look like. That top shelf, those are all my singles. So yeah, that is what it looks like.
Hey guys, it's me, Brandy, and I was just gonna go over my makeup collection with you guys. It is possible that I will do a declutter as well, but we will just see. Maybe I will swatch some of these shades, but I will put a little disclaimer on here for you. I have quite a few palettes, probably over 400 if I'm counting them. I have not counted them, but this video will probably take a while if I spend too much time on any one palette or even on this intro. So if you hear any house sounds, I do have my family coming in and out of the room. I do apologize for that, but I am not going to make them leave. So if you don't like that, I am sorry, but if you would like to see everything that all of my eyeshadow palettes that I own, please stay tuned and we will get on with the program here. All right, and just so you know, I am going to try to do a little bit of a declutter. It's not something that I've been trying to do, but I am going to try now to do one just because I do have a lot. All right, so first I'm going to go over my Cara Beauty palettes, and this is the Girl Scout. It's a green and blue palette. It is absolutely beautiful. It does have some pressed glitters, but it also has some beautiful shimmers. So that is the Cara Beauty palette, Girl Scout. I have another Cara Beauty palette, and this is called Purple Haze, and this is another gorgeous palette. The Cara formula is really pigmented and beautiful. It's also buildable, so I do enjoy using these palettes. And then next we have Orange Pop. And Orange Pop is absolutely gorgeous. I have used this to create several looks on my Instagram. Let me know if you guys would like to see more with any of these palettes. And then this is a new palette that I acquired not too long ago on Mercari. And this is another Cara Beauty palette. It is called Life of the Fiesta. And then we have Cara Beauty again, and this is Before the Party. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Again, almost every Cara palette has a glitter in them. So if you don't like glitter, you may not want to get them, but I don't mind the glitter because I don't necessarily use it, but it is what it is. And then I have my Illuminati times Issa palette by Isabel, by, what company is this by? By the Illuminati Cosmetics. And it looks like this. It is pretty. I have used it in I want to say Get Ready With Me, or I swatched it or something. Let's see if I can show you this shade. I don't know if you can see that, but it's almost like a topper. It's really pretty. And then we've got this June 1st. Again, these are really pretty. I think I got this in like an Ipsy glam bag or something like that. Maybe not a glam bag. Maybe it was a boxycharm. I don't remember, but I got this in one of those. And then I have the Venice Fling and Bailey Sarian and Estate palette. I do like this palette. I love this purple. Ooh. I have to probably take all those out. I love this purple right here. It's a really pretty shimmer. The mattes are just okay, but the rest of the palette, the shimmers are nice. All right. So next I have the Kaleidos Futurism palette. So this is Futurism 1, and this is the Sci-Fi Green palette. It's absolutely gorgeous. I have the Futurism 2 palette. And I also have the Astro Pink, the Futurism 3. And this is my favorite of the 3 palettes. I like them all, but this is my favorite one. I also have the Angelica Neve Kiss and Kaleidos palette coming. I'm super excited about that, and I cannot wait to get it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a couple of other ones that I think I might, that I think I may declutter. I've got this Butter London palette. Oh my gosh, that's like so buttery. Yeah, I'm not gonna get rid of it. I don't know. It's Butter London and it is called Natural Goddess. It's so beautiful. And then let's see, my first palette that I ever bought or owned. Look at how old this is. This has got to be, I should probably throw this away. I'm never ever gonna use it. And I want to say I got this from, it's an Amy Brown palette, and this was from 2005. I want to say I got this from like, and then this is the other one. This is the Nice Fairy palette. So I want to say I got those from Hot Topic or something, maybe back in the day. So yeah, those are those that I got. I mean, technically, I should probably declutter these. I'm going to put these in the maybe pile because they are super old and we know that I'm not ever going to use them, but the nostalgia is there. All right, and I have a couple of the Dose of Colors palettes. I have the Marvelous Mauves, which I do like, Dose of Colors formula. I just haven't used this very much. I just have way too much in my collection, but I do love these colors, so I'm gonna try to use this more. And then I've got this beautiful Dose of Colors Desi and Katie Friendcation palette, and this one I have used. You can't tell, but I've used it a ton. I keep a really light hand in my shadows so they don't get destroyed. All right, and then next I have this Nightingale palette from Pretty Vulgar. I want to say I got this in a boxycharm, and I have used it like maybe once. I do think I'm going to put this in the maybe pile to see if I declutter it or not. But it's a good palette. It is pigmented and it has some really nice cool tone browns. But I'm thinking that I might end up decluttering this. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the possibility for declutter pile. All right, and I have a couple of Beauty Creations palettes. I have the Elsa palette, which is super colorful and beautiful. Let's see if I can get it to an angle where it doesn't get super washed out. But that is a really pretty palette. And Beauty Creations formula is not terrible, but it's also not, you know, Natasha Denona. So I would think I'm going to put this in my declutter pile just to see. Not in my maybe declutter pile. I think I'll put it in there. And let's see. Next I have the Annette 69 Beauty Creations palette. This is one that I've never used. I haven't even swatched it. I think that I may possibly, I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna put it in my maybe pile, and there's probably gonna be a lot of stuff in the maybe pile just because I've never done a declutter before on camera, and I really think that you have to be mentally prepared to declutter stuff, so we will see. This I have my Beauty Creations Splash of Hue palette, and I do feel like this is a really good palette. I use it a lot for colorful looks that have to do with like collabs on Instagram, so I'll probably keep this palette for sure. Now, next we're going to talk about a brand that no longer does makeup, but I love their palettes and I wish they would come back. But I just don't think that it will ever happen, which just really, really sucks. So let's see, I have, they are called Bad Habit. So here's one. Bad Habit is the Inferno palette, and basically Bad Habit made dupes of all of the expensive palettes. So I've got the Inferno palette from Bad Habit. I have got the Aura palette from Bad Habit. I've got the Luna palette from Bad Habit. The Arabesque palette. The Retro Love palette. The Artistry palette. I have the Aphrodite palette. Really pretty. And honestly, the Bad Habit quality is not terrible at all, and I will never use them on my channel. But I really love just the fact that they made makeup for people that couldn't afford the super expensive. That was the Supernova palette. And then this was a very sought after one from Bad Habit. It's called the Pretty Poison palette. And this one was totally sought after, and this was their own eyeshadow palette. They did an amazing job on this palette. That's the Pretty Poison. And then we have the Solstice palette. And this is so pretty as well. And I don't even remember who these palettes were dupes for. Not all of them at least, but let's see. Some of them were dupes for like Natasha Denona, and some of them are dupes for Fenty. Some of them are dupes for this is the Fantasia palette, and some of them were dupes for Norvina or Anastasia Beverly Hills. And then this one is a dupe of the Fenty. This one is pretty much destroyed, but I really love these little glitter shades. It's a pressed glitter palette, but the glitter in these is really, really small. There's a ton of fallout on that palette, but it's okay. And then we have the Athena palette. And again, this is a Huda Beauty palette dupe. And then we have all of the Huda Beauty dupes. So we have After Hours. We have After Charge. We have After Dark. After Party. And After Shock. Aren't those beautiful? I'm kind of sad that they're no longer part of the makeup world. I stated in one of my videos that I wasn't going to support them anymore. They just started doing face products with Emma Chamberlain. So there's that. I'm sure they just sold the name to Emma Chamberlain, so. Alright, so that's not all of the Bad Habit ones, but I am going to do, I have all of the dupes for the Pat McGrath. Look at these. They are so beautiful. These shades, look at that. These are the special shades, and they did such a good job of duping the special shades. Let's see, I'll do this one too. Look at that. Oh, so pretty. So this is the Cult Mania. This is the Cult Mystics. Let's see, I'll show you these. just beautiful palettes. I have looks with all of these palettes on my Instagram from probably about 2 years ago. All right, now I have the Austere palette. And this one is gorgeous. This is basically, you've got your 4 special shades. They're so beautiful. Look at this. They're so pretty. Look at that green. Oh my gosh. Now we have Mayhem. And this is an all shimmer palette. Look at how beautiful that is. It's Mythos. Face candy palette. So we have the Amazonia, which was a dupe for either Nude or Nice or Naughty palette from Kylie. Yes. I have the other one, which is the dupe of either the Nice or Naughty palette. Also, I'm not sure which one. I didn't really like the Kylie palettes. I think I decluttered them because I wasn't happy with the formula. So now we have another face candy palette, and this is the Sugar palette. This is a peach, I want to say a peach, I don't even remember which one it is, but it's like a Too Faced dupe or something. And we have the Atlantis palette, and this is what Face Candy came out with to answer to the, this is their green blue palette to answer to that one palette that Tarte put out that they ended up not actually making a few years back, the Icy Betch palette. So this is their answer to that palette. This is a palette that is supposed to be the Kat Von D, I want to say Saint and Sinner palette dupe from Face Candy. It's called the Wild palette. So unfortunately, you will not be able to get any of those palettes again. Those are no longer available. So apologize for if you had gotten any hopes up in getting those palettes, but so I have my Peachy Queen palettes, and this is the Tropical Babe palette, and it is super beautiful and neon. I do like the Peachy Queen formula. It's very pretty and buildable. It's a very good formula. I'm just not sure if they produce their shadows in-house or if they get them made like in China or something and then get them sent out. So there's that one. The Pumpkin Spice palette from Peachy Queen, which I really love this palette a lot. So that is the Pumpkin Spice palette by Peachy Queen. The Spirit Board palette by Peachy Queen. This was their Halloween, one of their Halloween palettes for, gosh, I want to say it was maybe last year, but it's a beautiful palette. And I have the 90s, oh, if I can't get it open, the 90s Baby palette, which I've done several looks with this palette on my Instagram, and it is a beautiful, beautiful palette, color story. My only thing with it is it doesn't have a lot of deepening up shades, so you just get a lot of really light looks from this palette, or you have to bring in other palettes to make the lighter colors pop. From Peachy Queen that I love is this Kush Queen palette. So this one is a gorgeous palette. I absolutely love it. So yeah, those are my Peachy Queen palettes. This is a Profusion palette, and this is a pretty, I want to say it's a pretty dusty palette. I don't hate it, but I am going to declutter this one. I'm going to see if anyone that I know would like to play with it. So I'm going to put this in the maybe pile, and then I'll go through those at the end of the video or maybe afterwards, and I'll let you guys know how many things actually got decluttered. So I have this beautiful gold palette from what is this? AS Cosmetics. This was also gotten at the same time as the Bad Habit palettes, and this is not a dupe brand. This is just a brand that came out around the same time as the Bad Habit Beauty came out and the Face Candy came out. But yeah, these are really beautiful shadows. Let's see if I can swatch some of them for you. Look at that. And some of them are like super duper shiny and just great. Look at that. So pretty. This is another company that's no longer in business. It's called Model's Own, and this is the Supernatural palette. It's very pretty. They all come with a brush. This is one of the ones that I had gotten when I first started doing Instagram a while back. So this is that, and this is a really, if I remember correctly, this is a really nice formula, and I don't know why the brand went out of business, but it is a nice formula. So I'll probably put these in the maybe pile and just see if I end up decluttering these or not. I really don't want to get rid of any of my eyeshadow palettes, but honestly, I'm running out of room and I don't use them all. So, especially because I'm not actively doing makeup anymore, I'm more just doing my own makeup, and so I'm not really using a lot of them, which just kind of sucks. But anyhow, this is another Model's Own. This is called Rockstar, and as you can see, I used a lot of these palettes, so really pretty. This one is called the Celestial palette, and it looks like that. It's very light. This silver is a really beautiful silver. And then we've got the Wonderland palette. Absolutely gorgeous. Then we have last thing that I bought from Model's Own was this whole kit, and it actually had a PM kit and an AM kit, and I think I got rid of the AM kit, but this is, you know, it's got blush and some eyeshadows. 2 Essence palettes, and this is Never Give Up Your Daydream. And this palette I actually use for inner quarter highlights quite a bit. It's absolutely gorgeous, and each shade, while they look unimpactful, they are really beautiful on the inner corner. Look at that. They're really pretty. So I love these shadows. Definitely, if you can get something like this, I would recommend. It's basically a whole palette of inner corner shadows. So the other Essence palette that I own is this Hollow Wow, and it says it's an eye and face palette, but I use it for eyes. Oh no. So I am going to kind of show you guys. See, so you've got this really dark black. And then this like really bright, beautiful highlight shades. Okay, now I got these 2 palettes from L'Oreal when my best friend was still alive. Her name was Erin Schoenberg, and she passed away from ovarian cancer. So these are palettes from L'Oreal, and these, while I will not use these again, I did buy them when she was sick with ovarian cancer. Once she passed away, I just keep them now for sentimental reasons. So I have a couple of Amazon dupe palettes here. So I've got, this one is the Hoot Emoji. So this one is beautiful. I have not used it yet. I have been sent some products for review, this and a couple of other Amazon palettes just to review them, and I haven't gotten around to doing so yet. But yeah, there's this one, and then I have the Magify palette, and this one's also was sent to me for review. I haven't used it yet. And this one was sent to me for review, and I did actually review this. This is a dupe for the Lime Crime, one of the Lime Crime palettes. So, and this is really a beautiful palette. So if you go on to Amazon and you want to get, you know, not a super expensive palette that's pretty good quality, this is a good one. I mean, I think the Lime Crime palettes are like 60 bucks, so this is a good price. I want to say it was like 10 bucks or something. So yeah. Do this one first because I already know that this is going in the declutter pile. This is a Pixie by Petra palette, and I was really not impressed with this formula at all. I don't know what it is with the shadows, but they didn't stick on my eyes at all. Like by the end of the day, everything was completely gone. This is a beautiful palette, but it just didn't, I don't know if I did something wrong. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the pile. Oh, and now I have my Maybelline shadows. I've got this one that I've had for so many years. I don't even know if it's good still. It doesn't really look good, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the declutter pile. It was good when I got it, but it's just one of those things that I don't use anymore. I used to have a bunch of those little palettes and I got rid of them all. Another Maybelline palette that I have is this cute little Lemonade Craze palette. I have used this several times. I don't dislike it. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. It doesn't smell like lemonade anymore, and it did at one time, so that's okay though. I don't expect it to smell like lemonade forever. And then I have this other one, which is the Soda Pop palette from Maybelline, and I like this one as well. It is, again, I don't have a whole lot of drugstore eyeshadow, but this is a cute one as well. And now I have some Wet n Wild. These little Wet n Wild little palettes that are supposed to be like dupes. So I have, this one is called Not a Basic Peach. And then we have, this one's called Rosé in the Air. And as you can tell, I never used these. I've had them forever. Let's see, I've got this Wet n Wild palette as well called Hooked on Vinyl. And then this one is Velour Vixen. Oops, I'm dropping everything. So yeah, I've got all of these little, let's see if I can do that a little better. I've got these 4 little palettes, and those are all going to go into the declutter pile. The maybe pile for declutter, but yeah. So all of these. All right, now I've got some Makeup Revolution palettes. Let's see, so this one is a Halloween palette from a couple of years ago. It's called Give Them Darkness. And this one was, again, from a couple of years ago. not the best quality from what I can remember. I did try to use it, it's pretty patchy. The shimmers aren't very shimmery, they don't really pack a punch. So I am going to go ahead and put this in the declutter basket and decide at the end of the video if it's gonna be gone or not. I love these cute little names though. Fear, suspicion, give them darkness, dusk, twilight, shade, shadow, horror, afraid, hell, scared, overcast, jump, and nightmare. This is from Revolution, and I am not a huge fan of Makeup Revolution. I only have a few of their palettes. I seem to find myself not gravitating toward them. This one doesn't seem so bad, so I'll probably keep this one. And this is the Fiercest Fire palette. I want to say I got this free with like an Ulta order or something. And now I have, this is the only Forever Flawless palette that I kept. It is called Utopia, and this one I do love. I love the colors in here, and it has really good quality as well. So yeah, this one is a keeper. I have these little No Photos Please and Slay palettes, both from Revolution. I've had these for quite some time. They are cute and they're small. I'm gonna go ahead and keep them because they are cute and so small. But yeah, they look like that. Super cute. And I don't think these are available anymore either. All right, so next I have e.l.f. And this is a palette that I got recently from e.l.f. along with these little bite-sized palettes. Let's see if I can get them all in view. Do that. So we have the Retro Paradise palette, the Acai You palette, and these are pretty good quality. They're only $3 for the little ones. This one is called Rose Water. Oh, I'm getting. So we have Rose Water. And we have Carnival Candy. And then there's Berry Bad. And my favorite one is Hot Jalapeno. So those are my e.l.f. palettes. I'm gonna keep these just because it is the only e.l.f. palettes that I own, and I don't plan on buying any more of them. e.l.f. doesn't really have my favorite formula as far as palettes go, eyeshadows go, but the ones that I do have, I do enjoy. So I like their blush formula and their face products better. So there's those. Okay, so I did miss a Revolution palette. This is the Emily Edit, and this is the Wants palette. And this one I really did like. I do still like it. I am going to keep it. It's hit or miss as far as some of the shadows go, but a lot of them are really good, and I love Emily Noel, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this palette. Now my last, one of my favorite eyeshadow brands for, just affordable makeup brands, I would say, is NYX, and this is the Swear By It palette and the Modern Dreamer. And I really love these palettes. They're very beautiful, colorful, blendable, everything you really want in a shadow. So yeah, I also wanted to get the other NYX palette that came out not that long ago, but I'm finding that I really just like indie shadows more than I like any other shadows. So those are my NYX shadow palettes. Then if we're going off of some affordable brands that kind of do dupe palettes, this is a dupe of the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette. It's made by Makeup Shack. It's called the Ocean Breeze palette. But here it is. It's not bad quality. I am going to keep it. So yeah. And then I have this Rainforest palette from Makeup Shack. And it is a dupe of, I want to say the James Charles palette maybe. It's really beautiful and I'm going to keep it. Okay, so let's see. I have some, should I do Beauty Glaze first? Yeah, I'll just do some Beauty Glaze first. So I have this Beauty Glaze colorful, let's see, Reversal Planet palette. This is really beautiful. It reminds me of a couple of more colorful palettes, but it's a little bit grungy, so I do enjoy this palette. And I've got this Natasha Denona dupe. It's made by Prism Makeup, and it is the Exotic palette. This is one that I'm going to declutter. We've got the Aqualon palette, and this is a dupe for, I don't remember which palette, but this is a dupe for something. It's called the Natural Eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one as well. And then this is an Amazon palette. I'm going to keep this palette. It's beautiful. This was sent to me for review a while back. And this is called the Cageling palette. Another palette that was sent to me for review. This is the iMagic Professional palette, and it is made by iMagic Professional Cosmetics. And this is my Aqualon Perfect Stylist Eyes 24 color eyeshadow palette. This is brand new. I am going to declutter this palette. I've never used it. I'm pretty sure that somebody could get some use out of this. And then this was a present from my husband. I did a swatch party. It should be up on my channel, and it's made by Lamora. It's called the Exposed Nudes palette. I have not used it yet, but I have swatched it. So it is a very pretty nude palette. All right, so not that long ago, I did a review on I did a get ready with me and a swatch party on this palette from Shein She Glam, and it is gorgeous. It doesn't have the best pigmentation on some of the mattes, but I really don't mind that. I like buildable mattes as well. So there's that. It's called the Dark Side from She Glam. And then also from She Glam, I got this Breeze palette, and this palette's really beautiful. It was only $5, and there's actually duochromes in this palette. So the craziness that you can get a duochrome for, I want to say it was $5 or $6. And I checked on their on their page, I want to say the other day, and they are actually on sale right now for like $5. So yeah. And that's the Breeze palette. All right, so now we have the Beauty Glazed Perfect palette. And I love Beauty Glazed. However, I'm not sure I love this palette. I may actually I may declutter this palette. What? Okay. Can you hold on? All right, and then we have a dupe for another Huda Beauty palette, and this is a gorgeous palette. I do not dislike the Beauty Glaze formula. I like it, so I'm gonna keep this palette because it's beautiful. All right, and now we have all of the Huda Beauty dupes from Beauty Glazed. Let's see if I can get them all in here. I have all 9 of them. So I will just open them one at a time so you can see. So this is the Uranus one. And that is beautiful. I have the Mars one. So pretty. I have the Jupiter one. I have Saturn. I have Neptune. Lemon. Berry. Mint. And melon. All right, now we have some Rude Cosmetics. So we have the Whatever Forever palette. So cute. The United Shades of Glitter palette. Isn't that beautiful? Look how pretty that is. I like having a bunch of glitters in one palette. And my last Rude Cosmetics palette is an all matte palette. It's called the Lingerie Wild Nights Collection palette. And I want to say I got this for like $5 or something at a store, like a dollar store or something. So yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna show you some palettes from a company that I no longer support, but I did support them a while back. And it is Amy Hart's Beauty Cosmetics. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you the palettes that I got. Again, I won't use these on my channel, but I do love the shadow formula, but they are no longer in business anymore. So this is the Bon Appetit Entree palette. This is the All Matte palette, and this is the Ingredients palette. And this is the My Beaches Better palette. And my favorite is the Alma palette that she did with Amy Hart's Beauty, not Amy Hart's Beauty, Amy Hart's Beauty and Amy Loves Makeup did. This is my favorite, and I actually love this palette. I do not use it on my channel, but I have used it on Instagram, and these are some beautiful shadows. I know there was a lot of you know, just bad everything surrounding this whole drop and everything, and it just sucks because Amy Loves Makeup's a really good person, and then we have Amy Hart's Beauty, who like screwed over some of the people that purchased the product. And I mean, I don't really want to talk about the drama that happened, but again, I do love this palette. I just won't be using it on my channel. Honest, I really wish that I could depot all of these palettes and put them in a singles palette so that when I use them, I could just say that they're part of my singles and not have to worry about it being part of Amy Hart's Beauty, just because it's kind of frustrating to know that I can never use those, even though I love the formula. So we've got the Crown Glam Metals, and this is absolutely a beautiful palette. I've used it so many times on my Instagram. I don't know if you can tell, but there's several dips in these shadows. So yeah, I actually love this palette. It's beautiful. I've almost cleared off my table. I have more to do, but this is almost finished for the first portion of the video. Well, I'm not almost finished, but nearly finished, I should say. So we've got one sleek eyeshadow palette, and it's called When the Sun Goes Down. And it's just a super nude, I mean, just very light. There is no transition shades that are darker than like the inside of my arm. It's just, I'm probably gonna declutter this, to be honest. All right, so next I have some palettes from a company called the Beauty Crop. So I have Strawberry Daiquiri, and then I have the Sangria palette, which is more of a purple palette. Beautiful, beautiful. Then I have the Pina Colada palette, which is like the colorful type of palette. Beautiful. Then we have the Mojito palette. And these were all part of a collection together. It was just like a drink collection. And then I have the Stargazing palette, which is so pretty. The Dawn Gazing palette, which is basically all like warm and reddish tones. And then we have the Sun Gazing palette, which is just beautiful. All right, so next I'm going to show you my Alien Cosmetics palettes. These are all of the ones that I own. So, and I do love Alien Cosmetics quite a bit. They have a fantastic formula, and I really love just their message. So this I have is the Pluto palette. And I want to say this was their first palette, so. We have the Unearthly palette, and this is just a beautiful palette for, like, you know, right when fall hits. Then we have the Summer on Earth palette, and this is really beautiful. I love this palette. We have the Phases palette, and this one is cool because the shades down here, when you put them over a black base, they really get transformed. They are absolutely gorgeous. And then we have the Forever palette, and this is a beautiful pinky purple palette. I actually love this palette. Okay, so next I think I'm going to do my Morphe palettes, and I have several Morphe palettes. I am trying not to purchase from Morphe anymore, but I did purchase from them for quite some time, so I do have quite a few. Ouch. I gotta grab them all. Okay, so first I'm going to show you guys the 35i Icy Fantasy palette, and I actually really like this palette. It is a pastel palette, but it doesn't, it's a pastel palette, and pastels are really hard to work with, so I mean, I feel like with the fact that it's a pastel palette, it is still a nice palette, and I'm not going to declutter any Morphe palettes that I own, just because I have, these are from, you know, the back in the day. And I have my Jaclyn Hill palette. I have my purple shade that broke. I can't remember what the name of that shade is, but Royalty. So Royalty had broken and I had to repress it. But yeah, this is a well-loved palette, as you can see. And let's see, I'm going to show two of my extremely old palettes next. So I have, this is when Morphe had the crown branding. And this is the 35P palette. And this is a nice palette. That's why I've kept it. I love that it has a lot of cool tone browns and the purples. They all kind of go well together. And I also own, this is the 35B palette. And the funny thing about this palette is they just re-released this palette as a new palette, but it's not actually a new palette. It was just a palette that had new packaging put on. So I actually really like this palette. I use it a lot in a lot of colorful looks. All right, so here is a palette that I do like that's a little bit newer. I want to say they made it like last year or so. This is called the Stunning Vibes palette. It's a 35V, and this is the new packaging that they came out with before the cardboard. So, and this is a really pretty like blue, red, neutral palette. And then this one is the 35M, and this is, I have two favorite Morphe palettes. It's this one, and then I'll show you another one that is a favorite palette, but yeah. So if I can get it open, this is the Boss Mood palette, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. This is like a grungy dream. I absolutely love this palette. And then I'll show you this palette, which is one of my absolute favorites. And this is the 39S palette. And look at that, barely even fits in the screen. Holy moly. But look at how beautiful that is. And yes, I have used it. I use a very light hand. I love this palette so much. It just has my heart. The colors. All right, and then now I have the Morphe and Jeffree Star palette. I'm not going to get into all the drama that comes with Jeffree Star or even Morphe, but this is a palette that I do love. I have used it several times, and I actually like the formula. There's a lot of people that don't like it, but I like it. So there's that one. And I have the 15S, and I want to say I got this in a boxycharm. Pretty sure I got it in a boxycharm a couple of years ago. So yeah, there's that one. And this one is the 15T, which I also got in a boxycharm. I want to say I got like all of these three in boxycharms. So this is when the Morphe formula was good. Now the Morphe formula is basically like hit or miss, but this is when it was a good formula. And then this one is the Brunch Babe palette, and this has like some pinks and some neutrals, of course, but yeah, this is the Brunch Babe palette, and I do enjoy this palette as well. And then I have the 18A palette, which is a blue slash nude palette. I haven't used this one yet. I am going to keep it just so that I can use it, and I'd like to use it for like some comparisons and everything of their newer shadows. So I am going to keep this one. Now last but not, oh no, not last, I have the Jaclyn Hill palettes as well, I forgot about. So this is the Morphe Maddie Ziegler Imagination palette. I have used this and it's really good quality. I do enjoy using this palette. This is a nice palette. So if you're wanting to get a nice formula from Morphe and you don't mind the lighter mattes, I would definitely recommend this one. And then I have the Jaclyn Hill Vault, and I remember when everybody was just going crazy over this and the fact that they had to just redo basically everything. and then they didn't actually redo anything, so it was all like a big problem. And I actually did not have any issues with these shadows. I enjoy these shadows. So somebody must have gotten some crappy formulas or something, because these I feel like are really nice, and I've always used them. They've always blended really well. So yeah, I like these shadows. So you have the Armed and Dangerous palette, wait, was it Armed and Dangerous? Oh, Armed and Gorgeous. And you have Bling Boss. This one is Ring the Alarm. And then my favorite one is this one, and that is Dark Magic. Okay, now that I got reorganized again. So I have all of my BH Cosmetics palettes here. I've got the Zodiac and Aquarius palette, which I only got because I am an Aquarius. I thought that I was going to collect all of these palettes, and then after the Aquarius one, they all just kind of sucked, so I stopped getting them. I thought that I would collect them, and I decided not to. I also have the Capricorn. Again, I thought that I was going to collect them all, and then after Aquarius, I was just like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. And then I have the Marble collection. It's called the Cool Stone collection, and this is a beautiful palette. It's just actually a really gorgeous palette. I like BH Cosmetics formula. So we have, this one is the Moroccan Sunset, and it's funny because when I saw these on the website, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful palette. And then I got them, and these are, I swear to you, these are the smallest pans I've ever seen in my life. Now, obviously, it doesn't really matter to me that they're small because I've got a huge collection. But if I was a consumer that didn't buy a lot of eyeshadow, I would be pretty pissed if I got this in the mail. So here is the one it's called, this one was called Moroccan Sunset. And then this one is Afternoon Rendezvous, and it looks all beautiful there. And then you look in and it's like, that's not as beautiful as it looks on the cover. So I am not going to get rid of any of my BH Cosmetics just because I love BH Cosmetics, and I really like to see the transition from when they started to where they are now. So here I have the Weekend Festival palette from BH Cosmetics, and this is one that I have used and loved, and I really do love this. Let's see, look at this beautiful shimmer. But yeah. All right, and then we have the Royal Affair from BH Cosmetics, and I love this palette. I got it because Butte Bean was raving about it, and I do love this palette. Again, I'm not going to get rid of any of my BH Cosmetics palettes just because I love to see the progression of formula that they have. So that was Royal Affair. Then we have the Take Me Back to Brazil, the Rio edition. And again, there's those teeny tiny pans. I like to use this just because there's so many colors in here. I really honestly think that I may declutter this one in the future, just maybe not today, but I will probably declutter this in the future because I don't really use it anymore. So there is that. But yeah, this is the Take Me Back to Brazil Rio edition palette. And then one of my favorite BH Cosmetics palettes is this Fairy Lights. I was going to say Fairy palette, but yeah, it's the Fairy Lights palette, and this is beautiful. It has some duochromes, and this is when BH really started like just outperforming their old formula. So I love this palette. I love the blues and the pinks. It reminds me of like a Barbie, like, fairy tale, basically. And then this is one of my favorite BH Cosmetics palettes, is the Desert Oasis. I know it doesn't look like I've used it much, but I have. Again, I am very nice to my shadows. If you see a palette that's messed up of mine, it's usually because it's a very soft formula, but look at that shimmer. And look at this beautiful colors. That's Hot Springs, and then we've got this. Those are just beautiful, and you already know shimmers are my absolute favorite. I love shimmers more than any other type of shadow, so that's why I'm keeping this, because it's literally got like 3 mattes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mattes, and all the rest are shimmers, and I just can't not have this palette. That's a Desert Oasis palette. All right, now we have the Aurora Lights palette. This is their famous baked shadow color formula, and I actually really love this palette. It's really hard to get your fingers into it, but this is a beautiful palette. And look, I touched them, and you can't even tell that I touched them, but look at those shimmers. They're so pretty. I really love this formula that BH had back in the very beginning of days. And in my opinion, shadows don't really, I know they do expire, but in my opinion, they don't really, they take a long time to expire. Like the ones that I got when I was just starting out, you know, 20 years ago, then okay, those palettes are definitely not ones that I'm going to be using. Okay, so next I have my Zodiac palettes, and I've got the first one, which is just the Zodiac palette. And this one is gorgeous. I love the mattes. I love the highlight. I love all of the shimmers. I think they are gorgeous. And then I have the Love Signs palette. And again, I love this one as well. It's a little more warm toned than the first palette, but I love this one. It's so pretty. It's so gorgeous. And then I also have the Crystal Zodiac, and this one, it had amethyst had broken in transit, but other than that, this is a really pretty palette, and this is one of the first times that you saw a company do the marbling in the shadows. Look at that, look how pretty they are. Look how pretty they are. Just gorgeous. And now I have the Avocado Toast palette, which is one of my newest purchases. And I have this on my channel, I have it on Instagram. I love this new BH Cosmetics formula. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't tried BH Cosmetics at this point, I would say, or by now, I would say this is the one to try. This one, and also the Blueberry Muffin palette. Angelica Neefkiss turns me on to these, and oh my gosh, let me just tell you, these are the most beautiful shadows. They last all day on the eyes. They blend beautifully. The shimmers are just outstanding. I 100% recommend these. All right, so next I'm going to do some ColourPop palettes, and I have a fairly large ColourPop collection. I'm really trying not to get a whole lot more of the ColourPop palettes, just because, I mean, and I don't know if you guys remember me mentioning in it, I am going on a low buy this year. I've started my low buy already. My first palette for January, I actually purchased already. I'm allowing myself to purchase 2 palettes in February for my birthday. But other than that, I'm pretty much only gonna buy 13 palettes this year. So with that being said, and there's not gonna be a whole lot added unless I get PR, which I do get PR from like Amazon sellers and stuff like that. So we shall see if I get anything else. So let's see, we'll start with the larger palettes. I have the Mulan palette. And I do love this palette. I love that the glitters are very finely milled. I love that it has like those just really like bouncy shadows in them. And I have the Gather Round Sisters palette, which honestly I wasn't going to buy this, and then I thought about it and I reflected about it and I bought it because number one, it doesn't have any glitters in it. It does have these matte shades that have glitter, and I don't necessarily like that, but I like it more than the glitters. So but this is very nostalgic and I love this movie, so I had to buy it. So there's that. Then I have the Misunderstood palette. This is the Disney Villains palette. And this one I actually loved. I bought this the moment it came out, and I will tell you that let's see if I can, maybe I should be swatching with my other hand. Okay, let's try it this way. So I bought this palette the second that it came out. I could not wait for it. And I really love this palette. I mean, it's even got some like multi-chromes. This one's a multi-chrome. But yeah, this is one of the better ColourPop palettes for sure. I didn't buy any of the other princess palettes at all. I actually love Disney Villain. And then I have the Chasing Rainbows palette, which this is one of my favorite palettes from ColourPop as well. This is one of the ones they came out with, and they were just doing a lot of color stories that were just, you know, warm and browns and oranges, and then they came out with this, and this had some actual color to it, and I think I remember people being just, you know, excited about that. So there's that one, is the Chasing Rainbows palette. And they had the Golden State of Mind palette, which this is an all shimmer palette, and I actually love this palette. It's beautiful. And I will not be getting rid of any of my ColourPop palettes because the ones that I've bought with purpose in mind. So Golden State of Mind. And we have this extremely old Make Up Your Mind. I like this little cute 6-pan from ColourPop, and I will not be getting rid of it. This silver is crazy. Look at that. That's absolutely crazy. Now I'll do the 9-pan. So I have the Mandalorian palette, which you can see I have loved this palette. I love, love, love this little palette. It's so cute, and I don't have a lot of these green colors, so yeah, love this palette. And we have the Baroque palette, which I've used on Instagram several times. I love the colors in this palette. I love that they finally had the balls to do color story that you didn't see very often. So I love this, and I love the packaging. It's beautiful. And I have the Ornate palette, and this is just basically the warm version of the Baroque palette. Again, I love the packaging, and I love these colors. And then I have the Grandeur palette, and this is kind of like the brownie green version of both of the ones I showed beforehand. I think my favorite is probably the Baroque palette, that cool toned one. So, yep, this is the Grandeur. It's so pretty. Another very recent one that I've gotten probably in the last month or so is this Wine and Only from ColourPop, and this I used. I did a swatch party with it. I used it on my channel. This is a beautiful palette, absolutely gorgeous, and I love this palette. All right, so now I have the Smoke Show palette, and this is actually not the name of the palette anymore. Now it's called Blowin' Smoke, I think is what it's called. So this is actually, I don't know, they had something with calling it Smoke Show. They had some issues with calling it that, legal issues. So I love this palette because I don't have any other palettes like this. So definitely not going to get rid of that. And I have my It's My Pleasure palette, which again, I love this palette. And what else can I say? You're gonna hear I love this palette probably every time I open a ColourPop palette, because I wouldn't have it if I didn't love it, because I don't buy them if I don't love them. Let's see, I got the In a Trance palette, which is just like a pastel dream. It's so cute. I've got several videos of me using this on my channel. Plus I also have pictures on Instagram. The Aura and Out palette, which is the greeny orangey version of that same Pastel Vibes palette. And I have Just My Luck, and this is a beautiful green palette that ColourPop came out with probably like 2 years ago or so, and it's beautiful. And these two, I got these two collections because my kids absolutely love Frozen, and if I'm being truthful, I love Frozen as well. But I got these two and I cannot bring myself to touch them because I don't want to mess them up. I know that is super dumb, but I just can't. I don't want to touch them. I don't want to mess them up, but I love them. They're so beautiful. Like, I haven't even swatched these. Now that is stupid and crazy, but I mean, eventually I'm sure I will. Alright, now I've got my 12 pans, and I've got the At Foresight, which is the Raw Beauty Christie and ColourPop collab, and it is super adorable. They did a really good job on this palette. I also duped the vibes of this palette and decided when I did that I couldn't do without getting it. So I ended up still purchasing it, and I had to get it even though I did a pretty good job of duping it. So this is the Yes Please palette. Is it called the Yes Please palette? I don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's the Yes Please palette, but this is their first palette that they ever came out with, and I still own it. This yellow shade is what got me into loving yellow, and I just love the all-around vibes of this palette. It's a beautiful palette. And a limited edition palette is the My Little Pony palette, which this one I love also. This was when they came out with some colors that you just didn't see in... You just didn't see these colors, some of them in palettes. This is my favorite shade in almost every palette I own, is like this beautiful pink shade. I know that's crazy. Believe me, I know. Let's see if I can show you that like satin black. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So last year, right before all of the craziness hit, this is the All That palette from ColourPop. So right before all the craziness hit, they came out with this palette, and I fell in love with the color story. It's a beautiful palette. This shade right here is like a really chunky, like, I don't know, it's not a glitter, but if you can see, like, watch this. It's almost like wet. It's so cool. I want to say it's almost like a Super Shock shadow, but yeah. This is a beautiful palette if you ever get a chance to pick that one up. Okay, so now I have this You Are a Cutie, and this is a really beautiful purple themed palette that I got, and I have used this several times. Again, I know it doesn't look like it, but I love my ColourPop palettes, so. And then this is the only, oh no, not the only, but this is my first Catherine Lights ColourPop palette collab that I purchased. I do love it. I like the color for Aquarius. I feel like some of the colors could have been a different shade for some of the zodiac signs, but yeah, this is overall a beautiful palette. Then I have this Good as Gold palette, and this is, I mean, if you go through my whole collection, I don't have a lot of these types of colors, like just the gold colors. So yeah, I like this palette. I feel like it really brings a lot to my collection. So last but not least, I am going to show you my favorite 12 pan palette. I'm going to show you that first, and that is the Good Sport palette. This one, I feel like a lot of people feel like this is the one that got away, and this is a beautiful palette. This is my absolute favorite ColourPop palette besides one other one. Just look at those shades. Oh my goodness, let's see. They're so pretty. I love this palette. So now I have my, I want to say 30 pans. Okay, so this is my Bare Necessities palette from ColourPop, and I really love this. I like how they set up the color story row by row. And you have from light to dark. This is a really beautiful palette. Oh, and here's my tool. And then I have my It's All, come on, my It's All Good palette, which is just my super warm toned, beautiful palette. I do love this palette so much. It's got a couple of glitters in it, which I'm not super fond of, but this is a beautiful palette as well. And then I have my most recent large palette purchase from them is Stone Cold Fox, and as you can see, I obviously love this palette. I've used it several times. I have swatched it. Look at the craziness of those shimmers. That's insane. Look at that. But I have swatched this on my channel several once. I did a video on it. I did a collab video with it. I mean, I really love this palette. So full of eyeshadow and glitter. This is crazy. Oh, look at that. All right, so my absolute favorite ColourPop palette is my Kathleen Lights So Jaded palette, and I absolutely love this palette. I have used this in so many looks, and the colors are just so vibrant. They blend out beautifully. I want to say this is what Beauty Glaze was trying to dupe when they did that other palette, but this is just an amazing palette. You can't really dupe this palette. You could dupe the vibes, but you cannot dupe the palette. This is gorgeous. Let's see, I'll show you a couple of look at how beautiful that purple and that. And then I'll show you this Super Shock shadow up here. That's just freaking gorgeous. Let's see if I can get this red one too. It's just so pretty. I can't even explain how pretty it is. And it's funny because all of the colors, even though they look super light in the pan, they come off like much darker on the eye. So I think that that's actually a good thing, because so you see like rose quartz and it looks so light in the pan, but it becomes a decent transition shade for someone of like medium to light skin tone like me. Whereas, you know, this here might be, you know, those other ones are good transition shades as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this palette. I really love this palette. So that is my ColourPop collection. And I'm going to just pause for a second and get everything situated to go ahead and do the next portion of my collection for you.